So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with
Rob, I guess from the band Midtown, at least through the rest of 2022.
Mr. Midtown, they call him. And we're asking some questions to say about the band's reunion. I hate to start off with the cliche question, but how did you guys get the band back together?
It was the brainchild, I'd say, initially of our guitar player Tyler. He just kept reaching out to me and Heath, who are local in Jersey, and he tried to keep it casual, as if he didn't have a plan. It was pretty easy to smell what he was up to, but he just kept saying like, "Hey, what's up, guys? You should, why don't you come over to my house? I'll have a barbecue." And yeah, it's really like, this is kind of how it's. And then he would start, going a little more like, it'd just be so fun. Why don't we just like come over to my house? I got drums in my attic. We'll just jam.
Exactly. It always starts as a jam.
Yeah. So I could see, okay, he kept text messaging us this. So eventually I was like, you know what? Like, we'll do this. So me, Heath, and Tyler on March 10th, 2020, went to Hoboken, and I wouldn't call it a rehearsal. I would call it Tyler's plan to try to get us to do a show again. And so Gabe lives in LA, so he wasn't able to be there. I don't even know if he knew at the moment. And Gabe's our singer.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a good time hanging out and seeing each other. So that's kind of how it all ended up happening with the beginnings of it. So then, the pandemic happens literally 7 days later. Like 7 days later, I'm not in the office. I'm working from home. The stock market crashes to an insane low. We can't get toilet paper or, hand sanitizer. We don't even understand. I think at that point, you don't even understand the idea of a mask. Like, we weren't even at mask yet, right? Like, mask didn't even happen until probably May, after it started. And so I was just like, okay, well, we did that. That was fun. And then this pandemic thing happened. So then you fast forward, and somehow we're going to be 3 years in the pandemic soon. Yeah. Like, this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is you fast forward about 18 months after that, maybe a little less, and Tyler tried the same thing again, like, hey, let's whatever. So what ended up happening is we said, you know what, Tyler was speaking to Gabe and they all have kids, and their kids are old enough now to see their parents perform, like understand the idea that their father was in a band and actually did something. Listen, the three of us, we're all punk kids. If you're not, when you're 10 years old, you haven't, you're not born with a mohawk, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the kids care. I don't think like, we're not cool, like, to them. Maybe if you're playing some kind of Olivia, what's her name?
Rodrigo.
Yeah, the Paramore song.
Yeah, good for you.
Misery business. Like, if it's that, maybe that's exciting to them. I don't know. But their whole thing is like, we may never be able to do this again, and it would be so. And they're not wrong. Like, it really, I think that would be cool if your kid can see you play. At least take that with them the rest of their lives, or they get into high school and college and then appreciate that moment that they actually had. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, or a little later, after we decided, hey, let's try to, like, maybe we'll do a New Jersey show. And we were really being serious about it. We didn't know exactly when or how or what it would be. Tyler's texting with Mikey Way from My Chemical Romance.
Just casually.
But the thing is, nobody knew about this. Like, nobody had that idea that this was even a concept, except for maybe like our significant others or best friends or a best friend maybe. But Tyler's mentioning it to Mikey, and Mikey's like, oh, well, we had the shows that were canceled by the pandemic. Like, like that's, but I don't even know if Mikey said this yet. I don't even know if that's what happened.
Hmm.
But what I know what happened was, so Tyler talks to Mikey. Ironically, like, I don't know if it's 2 weeks later or what it is, Gabe, our singer, is in LA and he sees Mikey. I don't even think they were at a show. I think they somehow ran into each other. And then Mikey goes to Gabe, you guys are doing reunion shows. And like I said, we told nobody. So Gabe's like, how did you hear about that? Like what did you hear? What's the deal?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it kind of all spawned. We were planning to do something. And then Mikey was like, how cool is that? Like, not only the biggest band in the world, but your old friends. Mikey, I've lived in Brooklyn for 20 years. Mikey was my roommate in Brooklyn off the Graham Ave stop. But before that, and the reason I was so close with Mikey was because Midtown shared a rehearsal space in like Passaic or something like that. I might not have the right town. We were right after Giants Stadium, after the Meadowlands. We actually shared a rehearsal space with Mike Hem. So you go on tour, come back. Where do you drop off all your gear, and where do you rehearse at the rehearsal space? So we shared it, and each band got like alternate days. So that's kind of how it all just came together. And then right after we started getting it together, Furnace Fest, which is this really cool festival in Birmingham, Alabama, reached out, and we had all our shows set. And then Riot Fest reached out, and so it's so dope. It was just an opportunity we didn't expect. It kind of snowballed, and I just saved up all my vacation days so I could actually have days to go out and play a show. It's real funny, like things that you don't see as a fan of an artist or a band that you used to follow is like, we gotta fly in at like 8 p.m. We have to fly out because I gotta work till 5, and then it takes me 2 hours to get to the airport, but I got to get this. So there's like I worked when we did the Secret show just as a little warm up in New Jersey about 3.5 weeks ago. I took the train from Penn Station straight down to middle of New Jersey to play a show.
And you worked that day.
And I worked that day, yeah. So listen, the hustle is real, right? Rise and grind.
Yeah.
At least they used to say that.
Even the bands like Midtown, the guys got to work before they play a show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You stole my question though, because my question was going to be, obviously the anchor for this was kind of the New Jersey show and then the My Chem shows, but I was curious as to when everything else kind of came in. The Academy is show, which is wild. What a crazy like first show of tour. Riot Fest, Furnace Fest, yada yada.
That actually, yes. So we leave a week from tomorrow. We leave next Friday, and we're actually going to fly out to Riot Fest in the morning so we can work on the Thursday. But we're good. But because it's a Friday, we actually have a rehearsal space set up because Gabe's flying in from LA. We're all flying in from Newark, and we're going to rehearse. The next day we can go to Riot Fest, but then we perform at a Riot Fest after party. I think it's called Concord Music Hall, and that's a real cool one because that's what the Academy is. And like there are buds. Actually, Gabe used to run a management company with Mike Carden from the Academy is. There's a lot of like friendships there. I think Riot Fest, I believe they asked Academy is, and when they were talking with Academy is, they're like, why don't you have Midtown on this? They just got back together, and the Riot Fest was like, oh, that's a good idea. I think that's how we got on Riot Fest, because of Mike Carden, believe it or not. Yeah. But if people don't know, it's real interesting. The Academy is actually has a song called After the Last Midtown Show.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
It's a full circle moment here.
Really?
What's weird is our bands did not overlap. We barely overlapped. It was so like we broke up, and like right around that same moment they started as a band. So, but we became friendly because I used to manage bands at Crush Music, and then after that, Gabe was on the same record label when he had Cobra Starship with the Academy is. So that was the Cadence Records, Pete Wentz's label. So even though we didn't And it's funny, we never played a show together. This will actually be our first show together.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, interesting.
Awesome.
Huh. I'm gonna have to go listen to after the last Midtown show after the podcast.
yes,
A necessity.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of shows, actually, your first show in 8 years completely sold out. How does that feel to like be welcomed back into the scene? Like such a warm welcome. Everybody's excited to see you. What was that feeling like when it completely sold out?
I can't even say it was relief because we didn't have the expectation that one show would sell out, nonetheless, too.
Yeah.
You do something for a long time and you work really hard, you have no idea. It's not even if you have an idea if it was meaningful or not. Like, you didn't have, I think at this point, when you're talking 17 years later, you don't have the expectation that anybody still cares. So to see that it's sold out, it was, you know what? I think a good word for it was fun. It took a big weight off our shoulders. The beast of burden was gone. And it just made it so like this could be a really fun, enjoyable experience and really have something to continue to look forward to. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of odd to say that because when you get to do Riot Fest and Furnace Fest and the My Chem dates, I mean, that's enough to look forward to. But since we're kind of capping this off with a few headline shows, that makes it a little extra special.
Yeah, like about those Starland Ballroom shows, like obviously I work with Matt and him and I were talking in the office and I was like, how the hell?
Who's Matt?
Oh, Mr. Matt Namoli, the owner of Dim Entertainment.
Trying to help you with your podcast here.
Of course.
Yeah.
He was, him and I were talking and we were both blown away that one night sold out, let alone two. Like,
oh, he's in the doghouse, Shane. What's the venue that Pollyanna played at in Asbury Park?
House of Independence.
Okay. Matt's like, that's what he says to me because he knew about it because he was talking.
Well, he was telling me about it too. He's like, I think Midtown is getting back together because he showed me that video that you posted on your story, like where My Chem helps out smaller bands or whatever, and he's like, I think they're getting back together.
But what Matt said to me, he goes, I don't know if you should be playing Starland. Like, maybe you can do a House of Independence, but that's a pretty big venue. That's straight out of Matt. So when we sold out the first night in a day, and then we put up the second night, and that sold out in a day, I had to give him a call and bust his chops off.
Well, yeah, because he was like, dude, the first night's not going to sell out. So I wasn't here panicking, but the first night sold out, and I was like, I got to buy tickets. And then he panic bought like 6 tickets or some shit to that show.
Well, first of all, the fact that he didn't ask me for guest list is very kind, so I appreciate that. And he can talk all the smack he wants if he's buying tickets. So
fair enough.
I commend Matt.
But want to talk a little bit about the Crossroads show because that also, sold out super quick. And like, what was kind of like that, your first show, like officially back in what was it, 8 years or whatever? Like, talk a little bit about that, the planning and the energy. In the
so
room.
I don't know if you heard the story on that show. That it was also like the whole process of that was fun because it was the most unorthodox like show we've ever kind of put together.
Yeah, Matt told me it was like 48 hours, right?
Jesus.
Yeah. So less than that actually. So before we announced it. So because Gabe, our singer, lives in LA, what ended up happening was we knew he was going to be in town for 3 straight days. So we said, you have to take advantage of every second you have when the entire band's together for rehearsals. So we had already planned on rehearsing like after work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So a week before Gabe was going to be in town, Heath was talking to one of his friends that does the shows at Crossroads. And the guy said to Heath, well, why don't you play a show? And like, in my mind, there's no way in a million years we're ready. Nonetheless, going to be ready to play 20 songs after not having played them forever. But, what it was like it's kind of one of those things where like, you may never be ready for something. You just have to put yourself in a situation. So he kept like, that was all Heath to make that happen, right? He kept like, knocking down our doors on text messages and emails and just kind of saying, I think we should do this because you know what? Let's just look at it as a practice. We're going to have 2 days before. We have to rent the gear anyways. Why don't we just do that third day at a show? And I don't really have drums. So Dan from the band Pollyanna, who we had open, let me use his drums. I didn't even use my drums on that show. And I remember, I think we put a t-shirt over the Pollyanna logo on the bass drum. That's okay. But the point, so that's how like last second that show was. But the whole thing about it is, so Heath brought that show to us, and it took about 8 hours for us to like go back and forth 800 times, because that's what we do in Midtown. Nothing's ever agreed right away. I think that's every band actually.
Yeah.
And then 8 hours later we tell the promoter, okay, we're going to do it. But the whole thing was we had to announce the following morning. So we announced at like 11 a.m. or noon the next day, and it was sold out by the afternoon. And 6 or 7 days later, we're on stage playing our first show in years.
Absolutely insane. Yeah, it was chaos in the Pollyanna camp too, because you obviously presented it even sooner than, what was it, 8 hours or whatever? Like,
that's right.
You were like, you called up Matt, and Matt was like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't say no.
That was very mad of you, by the way.
Yeah.
So actually, speaking of touring and shows, what are you most worried about with getting back on the road, getting back on tour? What is like the thing that's on the top of your head?
I can't say at this point there's a quote unquote worry, and not that
That's good.
I have, and it doesn't mean that we're good or that we're bad, but it's just like, listen, if we can play our songs, we haven't played in years. So if we can play and not be bad, that's a big win. Like, what are you going to worry about, missing the show? Like, we're trying our best to fly in the day before every show. We're not flying in. So worry, I got a job. I don't have to worry about Midtown as my career. It's like, something bad happens. We don't want to, let's not have that happen. Let's play well. I actually started playing drums last February, and I'll go in once or twice a week and I'll pull up Spotify. I got a whole track list of like almost 28 songs now, and I'll just try to get through as many as you can. But let me tell you, after work and then heading to the rehearsal space, like once I'm at 15 in the summertime without a fan, I'm so spent. It's so insane.
You're over
it.
Yeah.
I can literally like take my shirt off and wring it out, and that's really gross. So I've been trying to put in the hours, and it's been fun. And quite frankly, like, I haven't worked out in a long time, so I'm looking at the whole experience as like, at the absolute worst case scenario. This is why there's no worry. Absolute worst case scenario, these are workouts that I need to do as a man in my 40s, because you can't stay young forever. That's the best you can do. Yeah.
Well, on the flip side of that, then, like, what, like, is there something that you're most excited about, like, kind of getting back out on the road?
Well, I think first off, it's always fun when people sing along. And I forgot how that felt until I was on stage at Crossroads. You forget the feeling. And I didn't have the itch until I got back on stage again. So now you kind of have the itch, and that's a really cool thing that it came back. Another real funny thing is, you go to shows and you watch the band. I remember what I used to do when I was, when we were touring in the early 2000s, is I'd go watch a show and I'd just be staring at the drummer the entire time. I hadn't done that in years. I've been to, like, I went to see I Am the Avalanche and Lagwagon last night. Even if I'm seeing Pollyanna and watching Dan play, like, whatever band it is that I'm watching, like, I now find myself just staring at the drummer. And that's really Oh, also, my entire TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, like, the recommended feeds, like, I guess, like, listen, I'm at best a marginally above average drummer, but, like, I guess it's really on my mind because all of my feeds are cats or drummers now, or plumbing advice. But that's a whole other.
The algorithms got you down to a T.
To a T, right?
So, like, how do you guys go about creating a set list? Like, because now you're playing all the hits. You're doing a mixture of headliners. You're doing some festivals. You're doing the Academia show, and then, like, for the My Chem shows, like, are you guys crafting different set lists for each? Like, what's kind of the plan for that?
No, for My Chem, because we have a a specific time limit on the shows. We'll probably play the same set list. In terms of Riot Fest and Academy Is show, because they're back to back and they're both Chicago, we'll change it up. We'll do the same in Jersey. We'll change up the shows when we're doing the 2 headlining shows. But it was real interesting. We basically, we did a little bit in the last few months, just like, okay, what songs should we play? Let's make sure to play songs that, the popular ones, and not because they're popular, but because if you haven't seen a band in 20 years or however long it's been, you probably want to know the songs that hear the songs you're most excited about. But what ended up happening in New Jersey was that last rehearsal we had with Gabe the day before the show, Heath just brought a set list, and we all looked at it and we just said, okay. And we just played it. And in the middle, we just took some requests and we played a song we hadn't played in like 17 years. And we never rehearsed it with Gabe, and we did it, and it was just fine, and it was real fun. There's a little bit of riding a bike. I think, you can't just, if we hadn't had a little rehearsal, it wouldn't have worked. But it's funny that things could come back after not having, like, it was funny thing happened. We had this EP. It was called the Sacrifice of Life EP. We recorded it in 1998 when you were born.
Not even a thought.
No,
dude.
not even a thought, dude.
So basically, we did this EP, and it's songs like we would never have a reason or think to play again. But the other week, Tyler couldn't make rehearsal. It was just me and Heath, and we just he's like, oh, let's try to play this song. I'm like, okay. And then we played the next one off of the EP. Didn't say we played it well, but I'm just saying it was really funny that these things you literally maybe haven't touched in 20 years, you can kind of feel out and then get in the groove, listen once in the headphones, and then you can sort of play it. So that was a fun experience.
Hell yeah. I wasn't at the Crossroads show, but I was reading through the set list on Setlist FM before we did this interview, and I was cracking up at the notes because like half of them were like crowd requested. There was like 1 or 2 where it was like Gabe played this song begrudgingly because the other 3 members wanted to, and I was just cracking up. I'm like, that's great.
Yep, and that's extremely accurate, and that also sounds like rehearsal. So that was all very real, all of that.
That's good.
Love that.
Authentic. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So band is back together, back from the dead. You guys are going on the road. Should fans expect any new music soon? Be honest with me, Rob. Please don't lie. Thank you.
You can be
We might
cryptic.
have something up our sleeve.
Something up your sleeve? Okay. Is
I
this
wouldn't.
like
I wouldn't look at it like a super crazy official, like on a record label sort of thing or anything like that. But we've got some fires in the iron. What's the saying?
iron in the fire?
Iron. Yeah.
I think
Cannons
so.
in the cannonball. I don't know.
We're learning something. We're learning something every day.
Rob, I think
irons in the fire makes sense.
Irons in
that
the-
actually.
Yeah, because it's like, you're melting the
Well,
iron.
you have to melt the iron in the fire.
But it's like you don't
If
even
someone
melt
has a lot
iron
of
in like a
irons,
fire.
they are involved in several different activities or have several different plans. But I know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know the colloquialism or whatever. But I think we're good there.
Okay.
We could talk
Yeah,
about
right.
this stuff all day long. Honestly, like I always felt if I ever interviewed people, I'd be far more interested in learning the non-things they're famous about.
That's the
What
most
do you-
exciting part of our interviews is the bottom half when we just ask about food.
Mm-hmm.
You
We're
need
getting
to ask all those irons you need to ask about.
You got a point. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Rob, what are you like super good at that nobody knows about?
Oh, let's see how you let in. That was
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
It's my job.
What am I super good at that nobody? What
Mhm.
what am I just super good at in general? I like food. I like to
Okay.
eat.
Yeah. We have a
Um,
good couple questions about food, so hold that.
Okay.
hmm
What are you super good at that nobody knows about?
I think everybody knows about my baking business, but
I did not know
I
about
have-
it. Tell me
oh
more.
well, not you, but
She's talking to me.
yeah, Shane knows about my baking business. But I have like a full thing going on. Really good at baking. I'd like to think so. So that's something I'm really good at that not many people know about.
You know what would have been really great if you actually said, "I've got a baking business and you loan out money to people.
That would be amazing. I could start. Shane, do you need some money, man?
You could probably loan me money.
What's your interest rate? What's your budget? You see, this is how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got a point. Rob, would you like to start like a co-banking business?
That could work.
I think so.
But do you have any vegan sweets for me?
I am actually making my first batch of vegan cookies for Ice Nine Kills tomorrow. So
Really?
I'll let you know how that goes.
Wait, so tell me more. I'm going somewhere with this. Tell me more about you delivering food to Ice Nine Kills.
I just have a friend. We have a friend, a mutual person who's touring with them, and I just kind of messaged him and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be seeing them. Do you know if like they want anything? Because if I'm seeing a band, and usually it's like if they get me guest list or if I just really like them, I usually just get them like sweets or something as a thank you. So it's usually just like they're not paying me or anything. It's just kind of like a hey, thanks for like making good music.
Yeah, like
thing.
when you come to the Midtown show and you bring.
I mean,
Spencer, what the singer? You know
Spencer?
the singer?
I do not know the singer. Oh well, I know of him.
If you do run into him tomorrow, you should tell him that you interviewed one of the guys in Midtown.
Okay.
And that they say hello.
Okay.
And that he is very appreciated because throughout the years, being in, I guess, hardcore metal, screamo, whatever genre, I'm not good with genres, they are, he has been a very kind and vocal supporter of Midtown for like 15 years. So
wow.
Even though our paths never really crossed much in person or show-wise, that was always a band I was like, oh, it's interesting. And I always thought that band had a different kind of hustle and work ethic than other bands. Because I feel like when they first started, they were kind of like, they weren't automatically inaugurated into the scene.
Yeah.
They were kind of a little fringe, right? Like were they, a hardcore band, a metal band, or were they a screamo band?
Yeah.
Oh wait, was that a thing in the beginning?
They did start out as a ska band.
Maybe that's why I was so confused all these years. That makes sense then.
And
because
there's still
they're
some
straight up
ska
screamo
elements.
band, right?
Yeah.
Holy crap! Oh, that's amazing. Maybe that's why he was so kind to me because I was in a ska band in high school. I did not know that. Yeah. But that's what I mean by that. That they never stopped. And they just kept hustling, and now they have legitimate success to show for it, and they're on all these festivals, and they're doing well.
Yeah, they're playing like arenas with Motionless in White and Black Veil Brides. They've been doing it all year. They opened for Metallica. Like they're finally,
getting
what they deserve. Yeah.
Yeah, they have their own convention now. It's kind of crazy.
We go, pick it up.
All right.
That's a ska reference for all you kids.
So back to the question that we just asked you. I think I have a guess or two. Can I ask you off the record, and will you tell me if I'm right or not?
How could it be off the record? We got this recording.
When I'm done recording.
After. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But he never told us like what he's secretly good at. He kind of just
I couldn't secretly good at like
not like
secretly?
Something that like the public like genuinely like doesn't know.
Give me an example from another band, somebody you found out. Oh, like Baking Was You.
Yeah.
We've never asked a band this question.
You kind of provoked this one. And I was like, oh, hey, why not?
Well, my girlfriend thinks that like she's great at cooking, and not to like riff on your special thing, but she's great at cooking, and I always say it. So she goes, but I can't bake. So then I started baking things, and she's like, you're the baker. You're good at this. I'm not. So I make I make a sick vegan banana bread. Like I figured out I messed up the recipe once, and it ended up being incredible, and it was the best move that I ever made for the banana bread. But yeah, so I do stuff like that all the time. Banana bread, cornbread, all kinds of fun stuff. We like to make chili. So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you're coming to the winter Pollyanna tour, you should bring some vegan banana bread with you.
I could, yes. One of the secrets is, you know how like people put chocolate chips in their banana bread?
Mhm.
You put a little in, it doesn't matter. You don't need a lot in the batter. But the
Mhm.
secret is just put a ton of chocolate chips on top of it right before you put it into the oven,
Mhm.
and then sprinkle brown sugar on top so the brown sugar gets hard.
Ooh,
And then it is just like it's like a sick M&M. I don't know. It's just real good.
that sounds
So,
good.
That sounds amazing. I'm gonna
yeah,
have to try that.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I got one.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at those basketball machines at Dave and Buster's. Like I'm really good.
No,
Yeah, like I'm
Oh,
really good. Yeah.
I suck at those. So that's like
Like
really rare to hear.
yeah, like my goal when I do it is to beat whatever high score is on the machine.
that's
And I
badass.
usually can do it.
That's
So
Oh my
badass.
yeah.
God. Wow.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. Oh.
That's crazy. I never would have guessed that. Thank you.
So we're done talking about
Brooklyn Fest.
Midtown now, but one question about your record label. You've got one. It's called I Surrender Records. I believe you're the founder of it. So what made you start the record label, and what do you enjoy most about running it?
Great. So do you remember we were talking about things from like 20 years ago?
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, just a second ago.
Yeah.
When I was in the 90s, when I was in high school, the way you found out about new music was obviously going to shows, word of mouth, and whatnot. But a big way is because CDs were so in your face. This, I think, when I was growing up, it was past cassettes. It was obviously past vinyl, but CDs were the thing. And because computers were slow and had small hard drives, you couldn't even really download to your computer. So your only way to really have music was to burn a CD from somebody else. But even that was cumbersome. You can't just go from one CD to the next. It takes a while. Even if you had in your car, take it out. So what would happen was record labels would put out compilation CDs, and they might even like anybody can put out a compilation,
Mhm.
and the record label would just give that song for free to 10 different kids that had a record label or other record labels that wanted to do it. And it was looked at as a way of marketing to get the artist heard for the first time in front of people that may have never listened to them.
Mhm.
Compilations were an extremely popular thing. So I was very excited in thinking that I wanted to start a record label. But the problem was in the 90s, I always felt like, well, I don't want to do the same thing everybody else is doing with a compilation. That's number
Mhm.
one. Number two, I had no money. So how could I help a band? And I don't have any experience. So even if I didn't have money, where's that? But I always like had the interest and I was very excited. So what happened in around 2003, my friend Laura sent me this kid Greg, this music from this band called Time and Distance, and it had this song on it called "Pretend You Don't Know," and it was so good. It was all acoustic stuff,
Wow.
off the heels of Dashboard when everybody was playing with open tuning on their guitars and things like that. Um, but this just song was great. You should listen to it. It's called "Pretend You Don't Know" by Time and Distance. Definitely worth listening to at least once.
Mhm.
Great song. And I heard that song, and I'm like, this is it. It's like, okay, I have a little experience, I have a little clout with Midtown, and I'll manufacture his CDs.
Oh.
So at that moment, I just said, this is it. Let me start the label right now. And I think it was March of 2003. I incorporated and started that record label and released the Time and Distance CP.
Wow,
Wow.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah,
I did not know any of that.
No.
yeah, yeah. And
Uh,
then Gabby, so Alex, my best friend, um, he was working at Virgin Megastore in New York, and it was back then before texting was and all that kind of stuff and smartphones. You would call somebody, and I mean, Alex and I would talk for hours a day, and she's like, "Why don't do you want to buy into the label, and we'll just run it together?" So he's, and I think you've met Alex,
I
Shane.
haven't. He was
So,
at the
oh, he
Midtown
was,
show,
oh,
but I
you
was
you weren't
not.
at the
Yeah.
show, yeah, yeah. So, so for one summer, it was like summer of 05, 06, 05, 06. Um, he would come over for like, a few times a week for like a month and a half, 2 months after he bought into the friggin' label as a part owner. And he's like, oh, because I thought this was going to be our life. We were going to do it full time and all these things. He's like, oh, Pete Wentz, Fall Out Boy, Pete Wentz is going on tour, and he asked me if I would sell the Clandestine merchandise on the Fallout tour. So I think it was 05 or 06. He's like, wait a second. So Gabby, who also owns the label with us, in around 07 or so, 06, 07, something I don't remember, was she came out from where she lived in Arizona to go to Pace University in New York. I said, hey, you want to come to help intern at the label? She said, yeah. And she did it for like years. And she was so good. And we were so young as a label, we couldn't pay her. So, because she was so amazing, we're just like, hey, we'll have you like own part of the label with us. And she was like, yes. And she's just great. And that's how, the label really started with the three owners.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And like, what do you enjoy the most about like running the label?
My goal has always been to try to help artists figure out a way to make music their career, because I think that's the dream, right? So either when I can help an artist get to the next step that can help them, get on with their career, whether it was like 4 Year Strong, Valencia, I Am the Avalanche, whatever band, that brings me the most joy. And it's also really fun when the bands recoup, because I love writing checks, because it's like that's proof of accomplishment that we really did something, and we're able to help them get on their way. So that brings me a lot of happiness too. But and then obviously just the great music you get to enjoy and hear and listen to.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're definitely like, you're very hands-on with the artists, but not in like a typical label way. You're like, it's very clear that you're very passionate about the bands that you sign, and you definitely want to help them like get to that next level, and it comes through in the way that you work with them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe other record labels owners like weren't in bands and weren't musical or something. That's the only thing I can imagine, because I would think that like people who've been doing it for 25, 30 years would be like if they see somebody going down a path they know is a path that's not going to help them, they would speak up and say something,
because it's their money on the line,
right?
Money, but also just the success of the artist, right?
And
I think that's part of it. And it's just like, I don't want to see the same mistakes made that I made.
Fair enough.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
like by not putting the chocolate chips on the outside of the banana bread. You don't want to put
just
them
mixing
on the
them in. Yeah. I can't let anybody do that.
Yeah.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
2022 snack of choice. It would, and this isn't exciting, this is just more by default. Seltzer, hummus, banana. Because there's a specific reason. There is nothing healthy in a gas station.
There isn't.
No.
Like, you tell me, help me. Like, I want to know. It'd be a great blog post for somebody to do. Like, hey, you've been on tour. How can you eat healthy at a gas station? But let me tell you this. Now is a different world. Go to Burger King, veggie Whopper, right? Impossible. You go to yesterday they announced across every single Panda Express Beyond Chicken.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Let's just be clear though. I should say I'm really not that interested in healthy. I'm just more interested in not helping to contribute to the abuse of animals.
Yeah.
So I should be careful when saying the healthy, but typically the healthy things at a gas station don't involve animal products. That's why. But yeah, help me. I would like to know. I think that would be some great UGC, user generated content for people to help us all figure out. What are those gas station hacks? Give me some gas station hacks. I like that.
Yeah. I like shit. That's my gas station hack.
I can tell you what it used to be. Oh my God.
Yes.
So, like, especially in the Midwest.
Mhm.
So first of all, it was absolutely disgusting. Egg salad sandwiches from a gas
Oh!
station.
I could smell that from here.
Because I wasn't
on the
vegan, I was
bus?
vegetarian. So I was getting like so I wasn't getting the ham and cheese. I was getting but they had these burritos, individual burritos, but see, they were like this big.
Mhm.
And we would get those because some of the gas stations have those little microwaves and stuff like that. That was big. I used to love the 7-Eleven pizza.
Oh.
I know, but like you're in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, but what I never got was, which I think is just hilariously gross, is you ever go to a gas station? There's two really gross, amazing things. The 2 hard-boiled eggs in the bag.
Ugh.
And then the pickle in the bag with all the juice around it. But it's in a bag. It's not like in a container.
Ugh.
You know this, right?
Yeah,
You know this?
Seen
I'm
them.
sorry. I'm the person who buys the pickles.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's
Get out,
you.
Corey.
At least it's not. Hey, no, there's a whole brand for it. It's like you can find it anywhere. It's not just gas station. All right. But the hard boiled eggs, I can't defend that. We actually had somebody on the podcast who was trying to like be like, no, they're good. And we were like, dude, find help.
I'll say there is one thing on the line of that, actually, I could add to my list of current gas station hacks. It's such a weird thing. They have little like mini bags of, and they're like the little aluminum bags or whatever, the tin foil bags.
Mhm.
Olives. You ever see these things?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
did buy
Never
the
seen
green olives, like a little container of them.
It's weird, but yeah, that's a hack.
Yeah.
That's a good
Were
one.
they good?
Yes, I love green olives.
That's
Extra
good. I didn't know
salty
that.
in that bag. But your fingers, it is kind of gross, but yeah.
Yeah, but
good.
they're very good.
Mhm.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
I have no reason for saying this. I just want to say lasagna. It just
Oh.
feels right.
Yeah. That
We'll take
fits.
Because think
Yeah.
about a lasagna. It's like you can have a meat lasagna, a vegan lasagna, a vegetable lasagna. There's so many different ways that it can be made.
Absolutely.
And who doesn't like lasagna? Who does not like lasagna?
I can't think of
everyone
one person.
here.
Somebody
Yeah.
listening is just like been like raising their
Ew,
hand.
lasagna?
Well, if you're
But I
listening, you can
say-
stop listening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not welcome here if you don't like lasagna.
Wow, that's not true. Everybody's welcome. It's a very open, free environment. Like and subscribe
Sorry.
for more.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
I'm here for it.
So for these last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
That's a
All right.
dramatic pause.
I was waiting for you to say yeah. So for these last couple questions, we're actually going to shift to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink? You threw it off. I can't do this anymore.
Is it like Easy E, Dre?
Death
Ice
row is
Cube?
in you're
We're
God,
killing
I
you
can't
right
think
now,
of it.
Rob.
Lethal injection,
I
not the label.
I think my response is far more interesting.
Okay.
Which members of NWA would you want to have dinner with? Which member? I think it's gotta be Dre.
Really?
I'm missing one member. Who am I missing?
I'll look it up for you.
I know who it is. No, it's okay. So I actually there's a photo of me and Ice Cube on my Instagram.
What?
Yeah, if
I
you
didn't
scroll
know-
down enough,
Yeah, I didn't know that,
probably
but I did see.
2013 or
Lord.
2011, between 2011 and 2013. You had to go back pretty far.
The picture
So-
of you and Bernie Sanders cracks me up. I look at it all the time.
What?
Yeah.
Who else have you met, man?
Not Spencer from Ice Nine Kills yet. I mean, we probably have actually, and I just don't remember. Can't place it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what food
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
death
Food
row?
and drink.
Yeah.
It's a little. That's a little like. What's your favorite cereal? Drink seltzer.
Okay.
What flavor is
I'm friggin' addicted. I like grapefruit or lime are my two favorite seltzers. Yeah, grapefruit or lime.
Oh, grapefruit.
Um,
Okay. Whew.
Yeah, or like I like Polar. Polar's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There's this great seltzer. I think it's called Waterloo. I like Waterloo seltzer too.
Ooh, I've never had that one.
Yeah, that's worth investigating.
Mm-hmm.
And food wise, um, love. Yeah, I don't need a vegan pizza as my last one. There's so much better stuff. Um, yeah. Well, give me give me a fried chicken sandwich from Plant Burger, PLNT. Fried chicken
Ooh.
sandwich from Plant Burger. Get some mayo, the pickles on the bottom, lettuce, tomato, and a fried chicken sandwich.
Is
And
that a
I'm
New
not, I'm
York
not
thing?
planning. No, one just opened up by my office, and I just thought it's all vegan fast food restaurant. I just thought it was going to be whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like typical average burger. Just like everything in that place. I'm not saying it's healthy. It's just great. It's just really good.
That
It's
sounds
like
so good.
even the you ever go to a diner and you get French fries and they're sort of steak fries, sort of not,
Mm-hmm.
and like they're just not as good as like a McDonald's fry or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
These fries don't look great, but they are great, and that's why I
Ooh.
was also like, didn't expect it. Sometimes it's the
Mm-hmm.
surprise that makes things better than they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Are you looking up where it is, Shane?
I was looking up where it is because
Yeah.
my partner and I are going to see My Chem in Brooklyn, and I was hoping it would be nearby, but it is not.
Oh,
Oh.
you're going to
Barclays Center.
Barclays Center,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Jill from Pollyanna's vegan. I think she knows a bunch of good spots too.
I texted her because my partner and I are going out to breakfast tomorrow, and I needed a vegan breakfast spot, and she didn't help me.
Oh,
Where?
chill.
Up in New Brunswick.
Why didn't she just tell you to go to the restaurant she works at?
She did, but I have to be to work, and that place doesn't open until 11.
Tomorrow's Friday, right?
Yeah, I do have work.
I mean, tomorrow's whatever day it is after this podcast
Yes.
launches.
Exactly. We got to put it on Thursday now.
So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Fictional?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What was I just looking at? And this is new. I was watching the new Game of Thrones,
Ooh.
Dragon, whatever the dragon thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like specifically looking at the landscapes and being like, that is just unreal. Like, because that's actually real places,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I think it would be something like I've heard there's these like places, whether it's Tasmania, where it's just these beautiful trees, but you're overlooking, you have a little river going down in between a massive, just to chill. I just love to get away for a week and do nothing. I like the last year we went to Joshua Tree, and this is something that I highly advise people to do, and I'll explain why. We went to Joshua Tree, but we didn't fly into Palm Springs. We didn't fly into LAX. We flew into Vegas. We rented a car, and we drove through the Mojave Desert.
Oh, wow.
I've never felt like I was in the middle of some alien moon world than I have driving through the Mojave Desert between Vegas and Joshua Tree. So if you have that opportunity, like it is so cool. It's about a 3-hour drive or 3-hour and change drive. And there's just so many different things. Like right before you leave Nevada, there's this craziest solar field I have ever seen. Like Google like solar field, Nevada, California border.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is there's these 3 big pillars that go up into the air. And they're all like a football field or 2 football fields away from each other. But around each of them, there's a mass of thousands of mirrors that all follow the sun to directly go into the top of the pillar. The pillar's maybe, 20 stories tall.
Wow.
And what it does is when the sun is reflected off the mirrors into the top of the pillar, it steams the water, which then turns the turbines, which creates electricity. And I had never seen it before, except on plane flights from New York to LA. For years, I would look out my window in the middle of in deserts, multiple. This isn't just one time I've seen it. I'd see this mass of light just beaming back at us. And only then did I realize what it actually what it actually was. But then you get into the Mojave Desert and you go through, because they call it the high desert, you go through like all these different climates within this 2.5 hour drive, and you see just like these trees you don't even know exist in America, nonetheless the world. So like it's a pretty cool experience, and it's something I'd like to do again. And it's kind of like, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, should make sure to bring flashlights with us and extra water, because who knows if we'll get stuck. Yeah. Because you really are in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, in a state park. So that stuff's fun. I'd like to I'd like to see more of the West out there in the national parks. The Death Valleys, the canyons, and things like that. U2 had an album called Joshua Tree. Nothing to do. I'm not saying this has anything to do with Joshua Tree specifically, but I think there is still a mystique about the Southwest of America, because growing up in the Northeast, there's just nothing like it, and just it really allows you to appreciate the world in ways that you get stuck in your little 9-to-5 job, and you get in the habits of doing the same things every day and staring at your phone. It's an oddly liberating feeling that the world isn't like, you're not stuck in the world like you think you actually are. So,
yeah,
spiritual thoughts by Rob Hitt. There you go.
Right. God. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
Oh man, see, I got a story for everything. Unintentionally, I don't want to have stories for anything.
You're good.
I am good. When I was a little kidding. When I was a little kid, like real little, I'm talking like 2-3 years old, I used to have a nightmare every night. There was this TV show, this comic book character called the Incredible Hulk. And he would come after me. The whole thing about the Incredible Hulk is there's just some Joe Schmo guy. And then I guess, I don't know, some toxic event happened. So if somebody angers him or he needs to like fight the bad dudes, he turns green and gets a lot of muscles. So every night I'd have this recurring dream. Like, it totally sucked being a little kid, that nightmare, the same nightmare every night. So I had to plead with him and tell him my favorite color was green so he wouldn't beat me up in the trees. So when I was a kid, my favorite color was green for that reason, so the nightmares would eventually stop. My mom even got me a tricycle that's had the Incredible Hulk on it, and I cried and I made her take it back. I was so scared and so sad. So weird, because I was like 18 at the time when that happened. So, no, I'm kidding.
Of course.
I was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, as Gloria said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Gloria, where do you live? Because if you met Shane on Discord, because you're both Panic at the Disco fans, that means you were. Stop. That means don't hate, appreciate. That means that you probably don't live in New Jersey.
No, I do not. I'm in Virginia.
So my mom lived in Gainesville, Virginia. She just moved.
Oh wow, Gainesville. Yeah. That's like, I think, like 3-4 hours away from me.
Are you south?
Yeah.
You're south of Richmond.
Yes.
So you're by North Carolina.
I'm like hour to 2 hours from. Yeah.
So what would your music venue? What would your music venue be?
So I drive to Richmond for like bigger shows or for like mid-sized shows. So Canal Club, but the closest one to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but the one that's closest to me is the Norva.
Oh, so that's on the beach. That's on the water.
No.
What's Virginia Beach? The Norva?
Virginia Beach has
Norfolk.
elevation 27. It's Norfolk. Yeah.
That's not on the beach. That's not on the shore though. Norfolk, is it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so the Norva, it's crazy. It's actually still around. Massive venue, but it was always hard to get bands out to Norfolk. But they would still have you out, and because it was kind of a little off the beaten path, It was like, and it was the only venue around there. A lot of bands that weren't necessarily big that could sell it out would play. So you could go to the Norva and they would still allow the bands to play in front of 200 kids. But the funny thing about the Norva specifically, was the backstage room had other bands are talking about.
We have heard about this.
I want to go backstage so bad.
And a disgusting hot tub. Like, who in their minds would use the hot tub there? How disgusting!
Wait, it's gross?
I would imagine. Band people's backstage with a hot tub seems pretty gross to me.
Yeah,
you got a point.
Yeah,
that's your plug.
So that's why I made my guitar players go in there and
test out the waters.
Just kidding, Heath and Tyler. Actually, I might not be, but it's all good. Nothing weird. Jeez.
Okay.
Nice plug.
But that's cool, Virginia. Huh.
Yeah, Virginia. Well, is it?
I mean, you tell me. You got Snoopy in the background.
I do.
Shane's background looks more Virginia than yours. Yours looks like suburban New Jersey.
True.
That's an insult.
Monster truck, and an American flag in the background.
Yeah.
Shane, what's your last name?
Farioli.
Shane Joe Rogan Farioli over there.
Fuck you.
Canceled. Shane's canceled.
Man, you need to join this podcast, man. Thank you. That was great.
You know what, Rob? Just because of that, after this, I'm finally going to take the American flag down.
Please, I've been telling you. Oh my god, dude.
I'm not anti-America. I'm just anti-morons. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. Well, thank you.
What happened to common sense? Hey,
Sure.
Shane.
Yes.
Smash that subscribe button.
Smash it, as Rob said. Smash that subscribe button. Thank you for sitting with us. It's been Rob Hitt from Midtown, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.